Okay. Fam, the HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. My name is Duff, and I am here, no, not as always, but I'm here this time with our brand new co-host, Jess.
It was me. I killed Niko.
Yep, the murderer. Just so everyone knows, Niko is safe. No Nikos were harmed in the making of that teaser.
No,
he's fine.
I did not kill anybody.
I don't know if fine's the right word, but he is alive.
Are we all fine? Are any of us?
A bruised elbow, bruised knee, bruised ego from that. I'm not sure. Something. But he's fine. He's good. He's good. He's good. But yeah, no, so Jess murdered Niko so she could take his spot. Not as a producer, because we're just not going to use one, and if it sounds like shit, I'm sorry. But as just a co-host, regular co-host. And we are very excited. We've had you on the show a lot. If anyone here has been a long-time listener, they've heard you many times. And there's a good chance that a lot of our listeners listen to your former podcast, Scream Queens. So I'm sure most of the people listening already know you. But why don't you just kind of give a little introduction about who you are, what your HHN history is, and why you ended up on a podcast about HHN?
Yeah, so you guys might know me as Beetle Jess online. That's kind of what I go by. So Jess, Beetle Jess. I started going to the event in 2017, but I've been a fan since, 2003 was when that documentary came out, Art of the Scare or whatever. Saw it on Travel Channel. I think we have similar stories, stuff, but you started going way before I did.
Very similar stories.
I saw that documentary. I think I was in second grade or third grade at that point. Changed my life. I was like, Halloween Horror Nights, The Caretaker has always been my man's because of that. And I just was too afraid to go. My anxiety kept me away, but I always followed the event. And I was really into the history and the YouTube videos. I would watch the media night, videos as they came out. Mm-hmm. And then I finally went in 2017. And here we are. And then I had the Scream Queens with Cece for 2 years. We started in 2020, and we just announced that we've retired that show. We both just kind of wanted to work on other things. And in, that lull, you asked me to come join you guys over here. So here I am.
Yeah, I'm not going to be honest. We kind of saw she might be a free agent. Maybe we should just throw out some feelers. And yep, here you are. Just like that.
Agents latched on. It's me. I'm my agent.
We hit up Wade, and he said, no, you got to talk to her, actually. I was like, okay, never mind. You're not the agent here.
He thinks he is. That's But I'm so excited. You guys gave me my first guest spot on the Scream Queens when we started, so
it's kind of really a full circle moment.
Yeah, it's a little emotional over here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very excited, and you're one of my closest friends now, so it's really cool. Oh. You and Mary, so it's nice to get to talk to you every week about this now.
Yeah, that's how we try to keep it. Still fun. Just hang out with our friends, chat with our friends. We're all friends on this podcast, so yeah. Try to keep it that way. Oh, other friend, Mike. He's still here. Nothing happened to him. Don't worry.
I didn't kill him.
Yeah, he's not dead. It's just Niko. Only Niko has been murdered.
It was Mike for the clowns.
Mike is still here, just kind of the same situation. Busy in life. He's not gone. He's going to come on when he can, and looking towards making it back consistently soon. So we'll get there when we get there. Oh yeah, sorry, you have to listen to me do the intro. I know. Oh, I think I'm okay at other things, but I cannot do the intro like Mike.
Oh, you're fine. I hated doing the Scream Queens one. That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah, I feel you. All right, well, what I didn't even get to this part yet. Hey, we have social media. That's Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at HHN365. If you want to be on the show, you can leave a voicemail at 407-906-3405. And on today's show, we're going to reminisce on some of our least favorite houses, but we're going to try to find the good in them by naming some of their redeeming qualities rather than trashing them like we usually do, like Niko would clowns. You got vengeance. It's okay. But first, we do have some news and rumors to discuss. Finally, something to talk about before our main segment. I'm excited about that. And it's one that's kind of just blown up recently in the community. There was murmurs of it a couple weeks ago, and now notably it's Alicia Stella from Park Stop who kind of broke the news, I guess you could say. And that's that the Fast and Furious queue and ride path could be used as a house location this year at HHN.
I don't love that. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, the ride's closed during HHN anyways. This would make it closed during the day. That means I never have to worry about someone be like, hey, you want to go on HHN? No, I don't.
It's a win for everyone, honestly.
Right. So
and that ride path. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
The
Go
ride
ahead.
path is like super wide, so I can just imagine you could fit like a mega house, I feel like, in that whole building if you're really going to do that. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like the details from it they plan on really using the queue as the queue, and then really just the house would be the ride path because, like you say, it's pretty large. You could squeeze a lot of house in there. I think it's a massive soundstage.
It's kind of like what was that, Beneath the Ice at Hollow Scream? They use the old Arctic, or I do not know SeaWorld. I am so sorry. But they
Wild
use
Arctic.
yeah, that ride. They use the old ride path for that, and it worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this would be quite different. There would be no signs of Fast and
Yeah,
Furious. I hope at the very least.
I'm
But
not
yeah, I
crying
think
over that.
the space does work. My opinions of the ride aside, I do worry about closing a ride during the day when you already are potentially still going to have the Mummy down. There's no guarantee it's open by the time HHN
Mm,
opens, right? So that's
that's
already
true.
a huge people eater and a big attraction at the park. So we're going to close another one that is honestly a people eater, whether we like it or not. It is a high capacity attraction,
Yep.
and that's always important. So I do worry about what that would do to daytime operations.
But is it
So
always open during the day during HHN season? I thought that ride was seasonal, like Poseidon or something like that too.
I mean, I think it was only seasonal, like for the COVID impact,
Okay.
because like I think last year, like once everything ramped back up, it was open entirely outside of
See,
HHN itself.
that ride is so far off my radar. I don't even know when it's open.
I mean,
I'm
I
so
wish it was closed. That's we don't have to trash the attraction. We've done that plenty,
oh,
and we will
I
continue to
can
do
it.
so until it's gone.
Graveyard review. R.I.P.
But I do think this would be a good spot. One, because this already kind of becomes a dead area in the park
Mhm.
until you hit crammed ass San Francisco as a scare zone, which honestly, I'd hope they did. That just means San Francisco's done as a scare zone. I don't think I could take an entrance for a house being in that area as well as dumping into that scare zone location that's already insanely packed.
But they used to do it back in the day, didn't
But
they? When they used
back in the
Disaster.
day, it was way different. One, there was less
Yeah,
less props at the time. They had like a
it's true.
couple big props, but throughout the entire area, there was more open space, so it was a lot easier to use.
It wasn't
Actually,
bottlenecked like they
yes,
try to make it be now.
if they could make it work that way, and it's just not how they do scare zones now. If they go back and do it, I love it. I'm a huge proponent of what they did with Zombie Getting pouring out into Zombie Graw. I think that was
Mhm.
great, and I'd love to see something like that again. But with how they're building the scare zones now and just the crowds now, that's tough. That's real tough.
Did they not do a scare zone? And maybe this isn't like logistically ever going to happen because First Aid is in that corner, but over in front of
Mm,
Fast and Furious because it's so open
yeah,
and
I
there's
do
so much room
wonder.
for a walkway still.
I do wonder if it's an emergency thing. I don't know Universal's emergency like gates very well. I do
Yeah.
know in theme parks there are certain gates that are considered emergency gates. So
Hmm.
where like ambulances or whatever come through, and they
Or like
try,
catastrophes. Yeah, like they
yeah,
have to be able to
they
get
tr-
in fire trucks
they
or
try
whatever.
their hardest to make sure it's an area that doesn't have too much guest blockage.
Mhm.
So that gate by First Aid could be that one, which
Well, in
makes
that
sense because there
case,
is a large road. So maybe that could be the case and why they never do anything there. Or
mhm.
like you said, could just because First Aid's back there and they want it to be very easily accessible.
Yeah, I think that gate also literally is the road that runs back there by like, the backstage area and everything.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
it's
that
a
gate,
main connector road too. Like
yeah.
it's not just the loop around the park; it also connects down outside. So yeah, that's a pretty. Again, I don't know if that is actually one of the emergency gates. I don't know for a fact if Universal does that, but I know that's very common in theme parks, and so I'm sure Universal does. I
Yeah,
don't.
I know of other
I
theme
haven't
parks having them.
I haven't worked at Universal in almost 10 years. I really don't remember that stuff, to be honest. So, but anyways, yeah. I don't know. I think I would prefer it to be at. So the question is it replacing Shrek or Men in Black? Sounds like the main thing is that it's meant to replace Men in Black because of the construction that was supposed to happen on Fear Factor stage. Would
Mhm.
obviously kind of overlap with that tent location there. However, rumored that is put on hold / canceled. We're not really sure, meaning that space would be available.
Mm.
Um, of course, one discussion point is that like you've already designed the house probably at this point. So you can't just like pick up a house from one location and shove it in another. It's going to be completely redesigned to fit if they do that.
Yeah.
We are still at a point of the year where it's not uncommon for them to like fully start over and do new houses. So would that be a huge deal? I don't know. But like if I had the decision, put it in Fast and Furious, put it in Men in Black, I'm taking Men in Black every day of the week.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's too many cons to doing it in Fast and Furious. Again, worrying about the daily operation, which really shouldn't be our concern as an HHN podcast, but you have to take that into consideration and how that affects the park and the event. And then also just the space it's in. So while it would kind of fill in that dead area, you're talking about an area that can't handle scare zones recently, let alone dumping a house out into what they'll probably still put a scare zone, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you think that bottleneck is still going to be as big of an issue if there's not a show in Fear Factor?
Yeah.
Emptying out every hour and a half or whatever? Only that direction?
I think the issue is once you get past like Fast and Furious, there's no cut across. Like you are doing the full wrap and that's it. That's your final option unless you turn around. So once you pass that point, you're doing it. You know, that's how you're going to get to the other side of the park. Yeah, it's over. No one's turning around and going back.
I have seen that whatever show Nightmare Fuel last year has let out, and I have turned my ass around. And I have turned. Yeah, I know the average guest.
Your average guest is walking right into that crowd, right into that giant wall of people. Yes. So I don't think it would change much without a show. And
no, that makes sense.
Okay, we can tie this into the next part. Is we talked about Fear Factor stage, the project that was going to happen there, supposedly canceled at this point. Is the stage going to be there and available for use?
Would they want to use it if it's even there, seeing as they have used Blue Man Group Theater since for Grinchmas, and it's been successful, and it holds more people?
But can they use it if they're using it for Grinchmas? Again, because they'd already be doing setup by that point.
That's fair. I don't know. I've seen sets move in and out faster than, a month or whatever, a couple weeks.
True, but they were doing setup during HHN in there, so I don't know if it was necessary or just because they could. Yeah, no, I'm not sure.
I don't know. And one more thing for like a pro, I feel like using Men in Black over Fast and Furious is also that they know the dimensions of that and they don't have to fit a house into a location that's never been used. So I feel like they will use Men in Black over Fear Factor if it's available.
That would be helpful. I agree with that. And I think that's another reason why you'd lean Men in Black. Obviously, they would, if there was no issues using Men in Black in the first place, they probably would have stuck with it and never even thought about using Fast and Furious to replace it.
Yeah.
But once they have had the thought in mind and had to design for something else, do you go back and start over? I don't know. They've done it a lot later in the game. There's been times, and not even just issues with IP. There's been times where originals just kind of like months later than it is now, like, oh, never mind, start over new, do something different.
Wasn't Tooth Fairy something that was very far into development, and then they went, maybe not.
Yeah. The only difference there is you're using the same layout, at least very close to the same layout. Whereas this would be the complete opposite. You're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Personally, I would prefer to see Men in Black. I would understand if the way things worked out, why they would use Fast and Furious. And I would assume that would only be a 1-year thing, just for the construction that they were expecting and potentially still going to happen, I guess. We aren't sure.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, man, I hope it's not Fast and Furious. I really hope it's not.
That's the most action that building will ever see from me if it is Fast and Furious.
This is true. It might have the best house.
Oh, it might. Oh, don't say that.
And then you'll just be in there like all the time.
And then we're just going to say that that's the best location ever because the house was a hit.
Yeah, that's usually how it works, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm sure more about this is to come. We're going to hear more, probably not too far in the future. And then, I mean, we're going to see construction happening. And if randomly the attraction goes down in like July, June, whatever, then we know.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, so that is all we have for news and rumors. Wasn't much, but it's more than we've had to talk about recently, so it's exciting, I guess. Hopefully, we get some more concrete rumors. There's the things floating around, but like so light, it's not even worth discussing on the podcast. It's something you can go see on Twitter or on the forums or wherever you find your HHN rumors. They're floating around there. But once something more concrete that we can talk about comes out, we'll discuss it then. So hopefully not soon, or hopefully not far from now. All right, but let's get into our main segment, where again we are talking about redeeming qualities of houses that we didn't necessarily like. Might even use the word bad for. I try not to use that word too much, but maybe some of them are. So I think we each ended up with 4 houses, or 4 locations, I'll say. I think there's a surprise in there. And basically,
I might have a 5th. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't decide.
Please,
I'm sorry.
Please, no, that's fine. So I'm going to be very open and transparent about this. This was hard for me because you're talking about houses I didn't like. And I told Jess this off mic before we started. I don't like houses because I don't like them. You know, I think there's houses that aren't great but have redeeming qualities, but I'm trying to go for the houses that are like very bottom of my list. So it was kind of hard to find specific things that I could really compliment. Some of them I have more than others, and there's a couple in there that you can be like, that's one of your redeeming qualities. Okay, sure. Because like it wasn't good. So, but yeah, we'll get to that. So Jess, as the brand new co-host of HHN 365, would you like to kick us off with your first choice for a house and or something else?
Sure. So I kind of had the same issue, and I was talking to my sister about it because she's been every year with me that I've gone, and I'm like, okay, does this sound like right? Because I have the issue of, and I know Dakota talked about it on his most recent YouTube video. I flip flop a lot. I'll be really like, I'll say one thing, and then like a month later, I'm like, well, actually, now that I've thought about it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think it's like the HHN fog in the brain. It's constantly like back and forth.
This is why every time someone asks like my rankings, like all-time rankings, immediately after event, I'm like, give me 2 years to let this house simmer, you know? Because coming at 29, like Graveyard Games I was like, maybe my favorite all time. I love Graveyard Games. It's up there. It's not my favorite all time. So, like, again, it's something that has to simmer. Got to let the newness die down and really see how it compares to everything else once it ages.
Absolutely. It's kind of like wine, and like, is the oldest one, do you remember it? Do you remember when you put that wine in the barrel? Like,
well, then we get to that issue too. It's like, am I just
for
remembering that I
you?
liked it? You know, like I know I liked it, but how much do I actually remember it?
Right. Am I just being like reminiscent, or do I actually like it? Is the caretaker in it, or was it good?
And the one I call my all-time favorite is that issue because it was from 2008. So, like, I remember liking it a lot, and I every year I remember just a little bit less about the actual house. So, you know, one day I'm just gonna be like, it's gonna be my number one forever, just because I don't fucking remember what happened. I just know I loved it.
Just stand on that soapbox, until it breaks is really what you're doing.
Exactly.
Okay, so my first one, and I have a problem where like I'll say I hate a house, and then I'll go back and HHN's over, and I'm like, well, it was still a house, and it wasn't, and I'll make myself like it, and I'll give myself reasons, but these ones I really did not like in the moment, and I'm gonna stand by that right now. I want to start with Dead Exposure Patient Zero from 28.
The sequel of my all-time favorite house.
Yeah, right.
We were just talking about.
Which is funny because I had known about the original and everyone had talked it up, and I was so excited to finally get a Dead Exposure house, and it's a prequel, and it was just, I also saw it during the end of September, so they had turned the lights up a little bit. So I didn't get that full opening weekend experience of being blinded by the strobes. But I did not like that house. I really didn't, from start to finish. The only redeeming qualities I had were the subway scene, which I know everyone loved that scene with the mirror trick, and the monkey room, but I could only handle it for 5 seconds.
Oh, you would have died when it was like pitch black then.
No, when everyone got lost in the room.
Oh yeah, I walked into the cages, 1000%. First walkthrough, I hit the corner of the cages. I had no idea where the fuck I was.
No, when I saw it, thank God, maybe not thankfully because the lights were turned up, but I could see a lot of it, but we got stuck because somebody was just being an asshole and like stopping in every room. And I was getting a migraine just standing in there with the screaming monkeys and the guy banging on the glass. Just get me out of there. But I will say that room was really good on like a quick run through, or like when I rewatch a video of it. But it was just those 2 scenes. Other than that, the final, like with the blood splatter room, whatever, we can move on. I'm fine.
That's really it?
Yeah, that's really, I only had 2. I'm not gonna lie, for that whole house.
I didn't know you like. I knew we've talked about the house. I feel together,
Hmm.
but I didn't know you like disliked it that much.
Yeah, I only did it once, and I went 2 nights that year. And normally I redo both house, like every house twice at
Mhm.
least. I only did one run through of that house.
I think Mary only did it once too, but that's because she was too scared to go on again. So kind
Oh
of
no, that wasn't the issue. I did get scared, but that was definitely not the issue. I don't think I got a lot of scares in that house, to be completely honest, which might have also been my issue.
that's because usually like people didn't like it because it was like too much, too overwhelming.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I maybe the rear runs weren't great, or maybe it's just not your thing. But
I was expecting it to be like
yeah.
overwhelming, but it wasn't. But that's okay.
Hey, but you found a couple nice things to say.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with actually the most recent one, and about as recent as you can get. And I'm sorry I have to do this to you,
No,
Beetlejuice.
on my first episode.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to start you off this way. But we're going to talk about Beetlejuice from HHN 30. Um, I man, I've slandered this house a bit on this podcast, and it just didn't. I was never too excited about it because mainly it's kind of how Ghostbusters ended up. So I didn't expect much, and it still didn't even live up to what I wanted. It, and I know obviously COVID restrictions made that more difficult to execute, but I can only judge by what I saw. So sorry. But anyways, I did find a few things that I did enjoy, and I'm trying not to think specifically about that Beetlejuice weekend they did in 2020 because I think that came with just a lot of emotions. Getting to see a house over the period of one, like that's never happened before. Just 2 days to see a house, and that's it. That's all it existed for that year, obviously. And so it was just special. It wasn't even the house that was so exciting that day. It was just the experience itself. Somehow the house got even a little bit worse, but we won't talk about that part. One big part for me, even going into HHN 30, even though I'd already seen it a couple times the year prior, was when you are standing outside of that facade and that Beetlejuice score is pumping, it's just kind of like the vibes hit perfectly. It's like, okay, it's not an impressive facade outside because that location, it's never going to be amazing, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's just a vinyl, whatever. I'm fine with that. And still, just like that music blasting out there, getting hyped to go in. Even though I know I didn't like the house, still got a little excited every time. So I think, as simple as that is, did the trick for me. I think, honestly, it's just going to be the first room, and that's it. I think was not my favorite facade by any means, the indoor facade with Beetlejuice on the podium. Very unique, though, so I give it points for that. It's something that I did not expect to see when I walked in. So kudos. It was fun. It was unique. Do I think they could have done something more interesting and better? Yeah, sure. But I enjoyed it nonetheless. And then my last point for this is I think it is one of the best uses of the vortex tunnel I've ever seen. So
Yes.
kind of.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, taking you into the underworld. I think is that what underworld, right? No, what's it called? Afterlife? No, help me out.
I'm just gonna let you suffer for a minute. The
Oh,
netherworld.
Thank you. Hey, there we go. Sorry. Yes. So I think just the transition of taking you to the netherworld, it was really nice. I think that was a great way to do it. Usually, vortex tunnel is used more just simply to disorient, where this actually kind of had a purpose behind it. So that was cool.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say, though.
I'm really proud of you for finding, a couple of nice things to say about the house that you normally trash to me. So
I mean,
thank you.
You know what's funny? This is actually probably what I have the most nice things to say about in my list. So,
Oh, well, you know what? Thank you. I will agree with everything you said, though. Like, I told everyone it's not a perfect house. It's nowhere near my top 6 of 30. Like, I can't even put it in my top 5. I can't even lie to you. And I'm Beetlejuice. Come on, it's me. Like,
that says a lot.
yeah, it's well, but I will say, and this might be a hot take, I liked it more than Ghostbusters, but I have no attachment to Ghostbusters. I have an attachment to Beetlejuice. So,
I mean, to be fair, I thought Ghostbusters was only marginally better. So,
okay, understood. I can get that.
They're very close. I know a lot of people are think Ghostbusters is like miles better, but I do not think that. So there you go. I'm kind of on your side.
I'll take it. Hey, it's okay. Not everyone is meant to like everything, and that's why we have 10 houses at the event now.
This is true. So, which of the other houses did you not like so much, though?
So the funny thing is, I have nothing from 30. I could not find it in my heart to put anything from even Tooth Fairy, which I was very much on the bandwagon of hating for the entire run. But my next one is from 29, and I think you can probably help me on this one. It's Depths of Fear. And I did like is a strong word. I did enjoy this house for what it was as a local in 29. It was my first year living in Orlando, going multiple nights. It was a fun house for me to kind of decompress and have a fun run through. I also had friends in the house. But I had to kind of disassociate from that for this because it's not a great house. And what happened to the house with the mouth brooder costumes and everything, I feel like it hurt it. They tried to make it work, but the best things I could find, I found 2 redeeming qualities about Depths of Fear. Minus, I think the idea was really creative. We hadn't had something like that in a while. But my favorite room was the hand down the throat, like victim scene.
That was a nice scene.
Yeah, I thought it was different. The actor, and at first I thought they were like a static figure the whole thing, and they really got me the first time. And then getting soaked with water, that was really nice on like a hot day. I thought that room was really different, and you kind of walked around the scene, so you got it from different angles. Oh wait, I lied. I have 3 things about this house. I found 3 redeeming qualities. The snake puppet from above, the one that would kind of like shoot down at you.
Yeah, that was very solid.
Always got me, no matter what happened. Above scares will always get me, regardless, even though I'm short.
I think that was one of the best uses of kind of like a above you puppet that they have. So no, I think great redeeming quality. There you go.
Better than Yeti.
I'm proud of you. Was it better than Yetis?
Yeah.
I think on pure execution, yeah.
Yeah. I think on repeatability, it was better because Yetis, once you knew it was there, it was very consistent. I think this one in Depths of Fear was never consistent. It would always get me. I would lose my shit.
Yeah. And I feel because there was so much going on. When you looked up, it wasn't just that. There was so much going on about there was hanging items and stuff too. So whereas Yeti was, there's its hand, there's its arm. That's it. But this, it's kind of like it can get lost in everything else that's going on.
Yeah. I loved that. And like the sirens were going off like every 5 seconds at that point. So it was just chaos. And my last one, and this might be a hot take. I really like the design of the mouth brooders. I didn't think they were that weird looking. And I'll die on that hill.
I mean, you go ahead, you die on that hill.
I will.
That's one of my least favorite things about that house. So yeah, that's all you.
It's okay. I think that they were very campy. I think that they were, I don't know if they meant to be kind of like an homage to kind of like those over exaggerated monsters back in the day, but to me they were, and I took it as that.
See, that's my issue with it though, is that I feel like the rest of the house didn't match that camp level.
Oh, not at all.
That those costumes brought, and I think that's kind of what took me out of it. Because, I didn't have the podcast yet. We were like literally 3 weeks from starting the podcast when this event started. But day one, my hype list, Depths of Fear was top 3 for sure. I don't remember the exact number, but it was very up there. I was very excited for kind of like an underwater style house like this. And the first thing that drew me out was kind of the immediate feeling of seriousness. And the first mouth brooder you see is he's still got that goofy look, but he's cut in half and hanging. Like, so,
yeah.
Okay, I can deal with that. But then when you see them jumping out at you, I was immediately taken out. I was like, this is not what I was expecting. And, that could be put on me. I was expecting something that they weren't necessarily doing. But I still feel like it's very different levels from what the house is trying to deliver and what the mouth brooder actually looks like.
I get that. I can totally understand that. I kind of separate them because they were removed, like mostly by the end of the run. So it was just kind of like victims.
If you go back to the episodes where we talk about that when it started to happen, is that I actually preferred the mouth brooders over that, to be honest. Because at that point, there was no variation in what you saw. It was just the same looking scare actors, just with kind of different makeup.
Yeah. I get that.
That was it. So, as goofy as the mouth brooders were, I preferred them over just the face scare actors. However, I prefer the scare actors not like breaking their backs. So, yeah.
I heard, okay, this might be a rumor because like I said, I had friends in the house. None of them were mouth brooders, but one was a victim and then turned into the heroine towards the end of the
Mhm.
run. She told me that some of that was bullshit and they just didn't want to wear the costumes and get hot.
I mean, if that is true,
I don't know. I don't want to like say that is. That's just what I heard. I'm not saying. No one say Beetlejuice said this, please.
I would just say that's pretty wild that they were able to revolt like that because like a lot of the costumes, like 90% of the houses have costumes that are just insanely hot and hard
Right.
to deal with, especially intense. Unfortunately, they're going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
a bit warmer typically for the scare actors.
Look at the Pumpkin Lord. I mean,
Yeah,
and was in full body latex last year. I do
yeah.
not envy him.
But I actually considered putting this on my list, and I didn't because I felt like it's just kind of a level above like the bad for me.
Mm,
I definitely didn't like it. It wasn't my favorite, but it's not like a bad house. It was just, yeah,
okay.
it let me down a lot. So luckily we didn't cross over.
Yeah.
And going on to my next one, I realized before we started this, I was telling you there's only one on this list that I'm gonna have that you didn't experience, and I'm realizing that's wrong because this one also was
It's
just
okay.
before your time. And this one is one that I have gone in depth about my dislike for. That's HHN 26's Lunatics Playground 3D. You won't stand a chance.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, it's I think I usually call it my least favorite house of all time, and I think I would stand by that. It was not good in any way, except a couple things I'm gonna say, obviously. But yeah, it was something I was excited for. I was super excited that Chance was getting a shot to be the icon, and this was her house, so I was excited for it, obviously. So it kind of has the factor of not being good and also massively letting me down. And so putting those two together, that's not great. That's not great. However, I will say one of the good things is how it started. That facade is pretty cool. Just the whole like the Carrie News, like actual like headline of the newspaper, and telling you the story too. And then, of course, eventually later on in the event, they start to project onto it and make it even more interesting and kind of like show you the story rather than just reading you the story. So that's kind of like that first thing that I was like, oh, I'm excited still. Then it let me down after I walked through it.
I didn't realize they started the projections later on in the season.
Yeah, it took a while. I was gonna say like a week. It took a few weeks. It
Oh,
took them a
wow.
long time to do it.
See, so I gave myself, I told you before we started recording, I gave myself the rule that I had to have experienced the house. If I didn't give myself the rule, this was going to be on there because every walkthrough I've watched let me down.
Mhm.
But
Oh,
I'm not going to spoil what my one redeeming quality I could find was because you might have it, but I totally get why you have it on this list.
you know what the wildest part is to me? I think you got the better experience than actually going through it with 3D. I think the 3D glasses made it worse somehow
Don't say that. I've never done
because
a 3D house, and I don't know if I want to
so
at this point.
I just like 3D in general. 3D houses are not my thing. I don't even like 3D movies. 3D, I just don't like 3D for the most part.
Mhm.
There have been very few attractions I thought have used it decently well, but that's the only exceptions. So going in, like I was excited, but I knew because it was 3D, there's a good chance it wouldn't be my favorite. And somehow I think as bad as the house was, the 3D made it worse. It made it more. I don't know. All the space that you had to work with suddenly became like this hodgepodge of the 3D you were seeing being thrown in together. And there wasn't a lot, like every room you went in, you've watched the videos, every room you go in, there's like a scare actor and like two props
Yeah.
and a lot of color. That's what the house was. With the 3D glasses, it just kind of like melted them together almost. So what the
Oh.
hell? Like it, yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to say nice things. So
Are you? I don't think you are yet.
well, that was the idea going in, but so let me try to flip this over. I actually only have one more nice thing to say about this. I literally could not think of anything else. I guess we could say I'm happy that Chance got a house. So there's another nice thing. I'm happy it happened, and she got a shot.
Absolutely. More
Like
female
I,
icon houses,
and
please.
I don't want to see a repeat of icons, but like I wouldn't also hate seeing Chance get a shot at doing something better. So
I want to see the storyteller after that wig
well,
moment we had last year. I don't know.
I know. Well, that might be a different episode topic we might do, so I won't get into that. The other thing I did like about this house was that it directly follows up and gives you details and expands on the events that happened directly after HHN 25.
Yes. Love that.
Because the way they tied it in, like, you know, HHN 25, like the kind of the big part of the story, I guess you could say, was what was happening on the stage. And this kind of directly follows everything up that you saw from there. And they kind of hint at what she does to Jack and how she captures him, and she kind of is in control now, although really just kind of actually in the asylum at first. But actually following up the direct story, I think, is a really nice touch.
Yeah. That's why I had such high expectations for it. Just kind of following it as like a fan who wasn't going at that point. Like just following 25 and then the story of 26. I almost went in 26 because it was Chance getting her vengeance is what they were kind of like marketing it as. And that almost got me. And then it didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go in 26. 27 was like, but my redeeming quality from the videos was the soundtrack in that house. Just the demented kind of take a chance on me was really cool to hear.
Okay. Yeah, I think I could get on board with that. That works.
But other than that, the videos don't really do anything. So
they kind of do it justice, actually. Unfortunately,
that's really sad. I can't. It's just like you said, a lot of props, a lot of bodies, and a lot of color. And I like that whole 3D, you know, or reds and blues and greens or whatever. I like that whole idea in a house. I would love to see it in person, but I don't think I'm gonna like it. So it's kind of something that I'm like, I'm okay with it not happening at HHN right now.
There are people who love it, and there are people like me who just do not. So I hope to be proven wrong one day. You know, even the ones that people have liked still have not been my cup of tea, even though I necessarily wouldn't consider them all bad. But, you know, just not my thing. So
did you like the Alice one? I don't know if we've ever talked about that.
So actually, I didn't go to HHN 25.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that's
what it was. Never mind.
That is the year I have missed in my tenure, unfortunately. So from videos, I would say no, but again, that's videos, so I try not to actually judge off that.
Yeah, that's the one where I'm like, oh, because Alice. I have an Alice tattoo. I love Alice so much. So just, I feel like that lends itself really well to the 3D kind of idea that they use. So
I think it was probably the best concept of 3D and the most kind of like justified usage of it, but again, I didn't get to do it, so I will not say one way or the other.
Well. My turn, I guess. Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. So I realized I had a lot of 27 on mine, which is so funny, and I don't know if that's because it was a good year. I like 27, but maybe it's because it's been so long. I don't know, but I feel like this one is a very common one. This is The Fallen. Another house that houses after they're kind of shown to higher up, sometimes things happen. And this house was considered a little too, what was it? Religious? Was that the issue? The religious undertones were too much for this house?
I think basically the big thing is they didn't want like the angels to be represented.
It was like angels versus demons, which is cool. I like that concept. I think there's a lot of romance novels involving that. So I feel like it's a really good kind of general public idea. But what happened to it once, you know, before it went out to the public kind of, I feel like made it take 10 steps backwards. But I found 3 things for this one too. So I guess I'm doing better than I thought I was.
Oh, okay.
My first one, and I think that this is the number one thing about The Fallen, the facade. The facade was beautiful in person, gorgeous. The lighting too in this house, I kind of put them together. The facade and the lighting worked together to kind of make this feel like you were, I guess, in hell, if that's what they were trying to say. Maybe a purgatory, I don't know, but I felt like there was fire around me. I only got to do it twice in 27 because I didn't go. I wasn't a local back then. But the 2 times I did do it, I didn't have perfect runs, but the lighting and the sets at least kept me entertained for my 3 minutes I was in the house. So I was okay with that. A negative about this house, I will say, is that if you did not time this correctly or you didn't get pulsed correctly, because they weren't pulsing, you missed every single flying scare that you were supposed to see, and there were only like 3 of them. Yeah. And that was like the big marketed thing. So that was a huge negative, but a positive, I will say, a redeeming quality is that the one time I timed it, oh my God, that house was so good, but it wasn't consistent. And I heard that from everybody. So I can't ever rank this higher than like bottom of the list because it just wasn't that good. You couldn't promise a good run. If you only had one night with Express, you were screwed. And that's what we had. We were lucky we came back a second night and got that really good run because I did not get it the first time. And some of the creature designs were really cool. I was rewatching the video today, like some of the walkthroughs. I really liked some of the sculpts and the masks that they made for them.
Mm-hmm. I think the one thing that it has going for it for me is the character design. You know, I thought it would be really cool. Too bad we only got to see half of it.
Oh my God, I know. And like you could tell where they literally just ripped wings off of things and ripped sculpts up. And like, as someone who I was a makeup artist, I say in a past life, but I did professional makeup for a while. I didn't do SFX, but I dabbled in it. For someone who like loves that shit, to see like their sculpts just kind of get like thrown to the side or kind of ripped apart to shreds broke my heart. I can only imagine the people who sat there like on clay and sculpted it, just watching what they made, just like, ugh. And I know that's in the business, but it hurts.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I feel bad. It's a kind of like, honestly, a lot of House from 30 situation where like it sucks. We didn't get to see what it was intended to be.
Yeah, with masks.
But I can only judge by what I saw. And what I saw in The Fallen was not a good house. And you said even like when you hit a perfect run, you thought it was really enjoyable. When again, I was luckier at that point. I got to come to the event more often. So I got plenty of run throughs. I hit a few perfectly, and it still just wasn't, not great to me. I think the flyers are great. I think all of them. People knock like I don't even know what you would call it, but like that main one, the huge open scene one. For being like too bland, but I thought that is one of the like best kind of like elastic ones. Like the way that she bounced at you,
I loved it,
and how close and got ripped back just before getting to you, I thought was really impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great part of the house. I don't have too much more nice to say about it. Luckily, I didn't put it on my list, so I don't have to.
Oh, good. There was a huge negative I did have was the one they took the spine rip, but they made it the wing rip, I guess. In that house, I got hit with that water jet, and I did that like earlier in the night. My whole right side was soaked the entire night. So I can only imagine the people going to like guest services complaining who weren't like expecting something like that. So I do not envy anyone who had to deal with that house or what it caused.
Yeah, it was. And again, I feel bad for the creatives who worked on that, and being told, and it was very last minute that it was basically early walkthroughs all the way to like team member preview. They were ripping stuff out as, hey, like, sorry, you're not be able to do this. Too religious. Get these angels out of here. We can't be doing stuff like that.
Which is so crazy, considering that like they had to have approved it up until that point. You know what I mean? Like I know they keep it, I've worked in theater and done all that where like you keep it secret to a certain point because you don't want to get it taken away. But at a certain point, it has to get approved. So someone had to have said yes and then said no later on, which sucks for us. But
you have to imagine it's just someone finally getting deep, like caring more later on. And I think the big issue we have here for this specific issue versus like Hollywood, say, is that we get a lot of visitors from the Bible Belt. Whereas in Hollywood, that's not as much of an issue, So
that's true.
Anything that's kind of touching religion, they're going to stay away from, unfortunately. I think that would create some great content, personally, but it's just something that we're not going to get at least anytime soon. One day down the line, that could change. You never know. But for now, that's not in our cards.
Yeah, it was the same year with the dead babies in the crib that people were bitching about. So I guess we can't do the same. I'm not going to get into that.
And by people, you mean Logan Sekolo. But so funny. I was just trashing 3D houses in general. This next one is a 3D house. And I'm going back to HHN 22 with Penn and Teller, Nuked Vegas.
Oh, God. I feel like it's low-hanging fruit, Duff. Come on.
We're supposed to be talking about bad houses. That's the point, right?
That's fair.
This was I know there are actually people who really enjoy this house. It's kind of like it's a small subsection, but it actually has some like decently big fans who really enjoyed it and like to see more things like it. And I think it is kind of everything I don't want in a house. Forcing celebrities in when they don't need to be there. 3D. And just the sets for the most part were so basic. And the scares, they were like almost all the scares were like trying to play into the 3D too much. Like I feel like you still need some more kind of like practical scares, and they didn't do it. Anyways, nice things. Sorry, moving on. I said I don't like when they shove celebrities in the house, but I like when they literally shove the celebrities in the house, aka when Penn and Teller were in the house, like the actual two people.
Yeah.
So kind of that implementation of having the actual people in the house, I think is cool, and like a unique thing that a few people get to see. And something that we've seen more since then, whether it be in houses, attractions, whatever it is. That was kind of one of the early examples of that. And I appreciate that they tried that. And, it feels special for the people who get to see it when it happens. And it's also good for marketing.
Yeah, you get videos out of it. You can use it on YouTube for years.
Right? All the millions of views you can actually probably. Penn and Teller didn't get millions of views in an HHN house. Let's be honest.
I don't know who I told, but I said, where did Penn and Teller come from? I know they're magicians, but I feel like one day they were not in the world and the next day they were.
I mean, I'm not gonna pretend I know anything about their history. So, sure, yeah, they just appeared one day. They're aliens.
At HHN specifically.
That's when they started. That was it. That was the beginning.
Yeah, no. We're gonna get hate from like one Penn and Teller fan. I hope you know that now.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the voicemail. Please tell us about Penn and Teller on our voicemail if you're passionate.
Actually, yes, please.
No, I really want to know. That wasn't like a joke.
Like a 5 to 8 minute, like just voicemail ripping us about your.
I want Google Voice to cut you off because you've gone so long about Penn and Teller.
I wanted to read your transcript and just be like, no, you got to stop. We're done. You're getting crazy here.
No, but seriously, if you're passionate about Penn and Teller, why?
Again, leave a voicemail. Tell us. Another thing I liked. Again, I'm sorry. I only have one more thing. I'm so sorry. I tried, guys.
Surprised you found this many.
Yeah, me too. I love GATs when they're used well, and I think it's not the only time it's ever been used, but it's not a common GAT, and it's the GAT when you hit it and the floor moves. Like vibrates, shakes, moves around. And I think that's so cool. You can actually have such an effect on the experience. Like you can scare the shit out of people when you do that.
Yeah.
It's not like a blast of air, water, nothing like it. You're moving the ground. And it's not like, that happens in houses occasionally and usually gets stopped halfway through the event, but it happens. But having guests control it, I think is just hilarious. So that's one of my favorite GATs. It doesn't get used too often, and to be honest, in this day, I don't know if it's really going to get used at all anymore as a GAT.
Don't say that.
I mean,
it was real.
It's just kind of the case. Like even the ones they put in to just be part of the house don't stay. So having it as a GAT, I don't know. But there you go. I appreciated that. Thanks for doing that. It had nothing to do with the house itself, really, but cool effect you put in.
Penn and Teller sat in whatever meeting they were invited to and were like, hey, could we make the floor move? And creative was like, hey, have you ever heard of a GAT? And Penn and Teller were like, yeah, actually we have. And now you're talking about it however many years later. Look at you.
Look at this. Who would have thought? Penn and Teller's biggest day.
Talking about GATs. I miss GATs. I will say that. That is one thing. I know we couldn't have them last year, but I didn't think I was going to miss them so much. I really did.
I know, right? I doubt they're gone forever. They'll be back.
Yeah.
But like again, they're not going to be like moving the floor. Like that's just not going to happen anymore.
No, it's going to be water, air, sound, or whatever we had. Yeah.
Puff of air is the most popular. Yeah, it's effective,
and it
but
always gets me.
It gets boring though. As the guest hitting the GAT, it gets boring to just
except for when you're going through with me and you hit me with the air every time. We haven't done that yet, but it will get there. Trust me.
Okay. Well, so I have reason to be excited again.
Right.
Got it. All right, but yeah, that's all I got to say about Penn and Teller. So you can feel free to find something nice to say about something else.
So my last one is this my last one? Right?
Oh, you said you had 5.
Oh, I do have 5. You're right. I had another page. Another 27. I'm so sorry, 27.
Listen, it wasn't a great year, let's be honest.
It wasn't.
It holds a special place in my heart.
Yes. Same.
But it's not a good year, objectively.
No, not at all. And I feel like also, I feel like I never tell this part, but my second day going back to the event, I had only booked one day. They weren't doing, or if they were doing the BOGO, I didn't get it back then. Me and my sister did the Soul Collector media meetup on the last night. So my last night was like wild. So I feel like some of my run throughs were really, really, really special because of that, because we had the bracelet on or whatever. But this house we did not do that night. And that is Hive. So I only went through once, so maybe that's a negative, but also everyone knows Hive was The Conjuring last second. Got switched over because the Warrens don't want us to have The Conjuring, guys. I don't know why.
Well, neither do I, so thank you.
Okay, well, you know what? You and I are going to fight about that eventually on the show. I hope you know.
Oh, it'll happen. We could do it right now, but we'll try not to.
The Conjuring is my favorite franchise. So
wait, so do you like The Devil Made Me Do It?
I don't know, actually. I don't think so. I don't know right now. We'll talk about this later.
I'll take that as a no. Carry on.
Does anyone like The Devil?
No, not that I know.
There you go. I just like the Conjuring movies as a whole. You know what I mean?
Got it.
I don't know if they will make the best HHN houses though. I think I talked about that on Scream Queens. I know it was one of my like anticipated IPs, but I don't know if it would actually be done well.
Like you want to see it happen, but you have a lot of doubts.
It was like Beetlejuice. I was very afraid for them to touch Beetlejuice
for good reason.
And one day, I think one day that's an episode we need to do the Beetlejuice's honest feelings about Beetlejuice. I
could listen to at least 2 hours of it.
Oh, well, you could also bring Aaron on, and then there's double the content right there.
There we go. I think I know several people. We can make this work. We'll just do like a 24-hour telethon kind of deal.
It's really like an intervention for all of us who like Beetlejuice, just admitting it wasn't the best.
I will sit there and take all your pain.
Stop it. Okay, so Hive. Let's talk about the redeeming qualities of Hive. I talk shit. One of them, the dead babies. They did it. It pissed off Logan Secula. I didn't think they were that bad, guys. There's worse shit in HHN houses. If you're going to a haunt event and bitching about a dead baby, fuck off. But overall, it was not my favorite house. It was very thrown together. But I will say it was it 9 houses in 27? I think it was back then. Yeah, it was 9.
Yeah.
It was 9 out of 9 for me in hype. So I was not very excited for it. I didn't think it was going to be scary because I think the description was like 80s vampires. So I was expecting like the Lost Boys. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I think that's kind of where everyone was going.
So
if I remember correctly, that was like heavily speculated by like, it was kind of teased what it would be, by insiders. And everyone was kind of like, Lost Boys?
Yeah, it was like a Lost Boys, and then they said it was like a John Carpenter score.
Oh, I don't remember that myself.
Maybe I'm getting something else confused.
That does make a lot of sense for the 80s vibe, if you're like an insider trying to tease stuff, I guess.
I guess that makes sense.
Did they actually think? I really don't. No. That was a long time ago. I don't remember speculation season 5 years ago. Come on.
I don't remember speculation season for 30 half the time, and we knew most of the houses going in.
This is true.
But my only run through that house, me, Daniel, and Ashley, Squad on the Rocks. We went in together. I always go with them. They're my group. We literally we're sitting there at Stay and Scream, and we said, well, what house do we want to do first? We were in Duck Gardens, so we had whatever those options were. And I remember us specifically saying, let's do Hive. It won't be that bad. We left that house and looked at each other and said it was the scariest thing we had ever done. Granted, we had only done it once, and our eyes were not adjusted because it was still daytime.
Okay.
So I think that is really what played into it. But in my mind, no one can convince me otherwise that is the scariest house I've done at HHN so far.
Meanwhile, Scarecrow was sitting right next to it.
But I did Scarecrow, and it wrecked my shit. It was my favorite house. I loved it. I will never say it's not my favorite from that year. But it wasn't the scariest house. I was like smiling through it. But in Hive, I was genuinely like, get me the fuck out of here. Because I couldn't see. So maybe it's just that.
That's fair.
That was the redeeming quality, and I couldn't see them. And the actors that were in there that night were really wrecking my shit. And I remember specifically like hiding my face into someone who was in our group, and an actor screaming in my ear that I had to look at him or else. And I was just like, okay, my first HHN house, and this is how it's going.
That's pretty scary. That's fair. I get that.
So it was terrifying to me, but watching it back, you could see how it was The Conjuring, and it's so disappointing.
Yeah, especially when you look at like pictures of that lights on. That's Rough. I mean, it's no Scream level, but
No, oh my
still
god,
pretty
there's no
bad.
Jiffy Pop on the stove and Casey dead in the. Oh my god, but that's all I
Yeah.
can say redeeming about it. It was terrifying.
Okay. I for some reason I kind of thought you were into Hive, so I was very wrong there, I guess.
It makes sense that I would be into Hive. I
It
see
seems
why
like
you would think that.
it tickles all your fancies.
That's why we did it first too. The three of us were like, "Oh my god, this is us, 80s vampires." And we walked in and we went, "Nosferatu. Interesting." And then we just kind of screamed our way through the rest of the house.
That's fair. Maybe it just carries me with its dead babies. I'm like, hell yeah, dead babies.
I think I just liked it because it pissed Scarzone off, to be
Yes.
honest. And I was listening to them back then.
Well, I hope you're in therapy for that.
Oh, it was at least 2 years of therapy at this point.
All right, so I will go into my last thing. This is actually if I try to think of a fifth one, like there's not anything nice to say. I'm running out of nice things I can think of at all. And for this one, you'll see when I get to my second one. Anyways, we're going to HHN 29 and Stranger Things, which is technically seasons 2, 3. You know, that is a bad house. I'm very happy I didn't have to experience Hollywood's that year. Because I've seen video and heard what people think, and that just sounds like the worst HHN house ever.
Yeah.
So I guess, oh, there we go. I added one. It's not Hollywood. So redeeming quality number 1. But like a legit one, the Mind Flayer was cool. I mean, you know, he could have been more impressive. Maybe not even really the Mind Flayer itself, but the setting around the Mind Flayer could have made it more impressive. But I thought as a puppet, you know, a 2-person controlled puppet, it was massive. That's cool. You know, like usually by the time I got to the point, I'm like, God, fuck this house. And at least at that point, I was like, yes, all right, there's something. I enjoyed that, I guess. And yeah, my second one's about as stupid as it gets. It's hearing never-ending story endlessly while you're waiting in queue.
That's a redeeming quality for you?
It was. But that's how bad the house is.
Oof, I avoided that queue like the plague after I did it twice.
Really? No, I kind of loved it. I don't know why. Probably the alcohol. It was definitely the alcohol.
I can see that. I don't know. Back then I had frequent fear or whatever. I didn't have express. So standing in a 3-hour line for a house that was not it for me.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I never waited that long. What do I look like?
Okay. Well, I had to go with people who wanted to wait that long because I was the local.
I am sorry.
It's okay. Now we have express for that.
Yeah, this is true. We never have to worry about that again.
No, not. Remember when you did for one night though?
I mean, I never waited 3 hours, but yeah.
Fair. No, that never again. But the puppet was cool. I will give you that. The Billy scene was good. You didn't like the Billy scene where he banged on the wall?
Fine. I don't know
You're
if
like, yes.
I wouldn't call it redeeming. It was fine.
I mean, it was quote unquote scarier than some other scenes in the house.
There were scary scenes in the house.
That's why I said quote unquote scary.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, yes, this was just a very bad long house.
Yeah, very long house
I do
for no
wonder
reason.
if it wasn't as long, would I dislike it as much? Because I feel like the thing is, there were parts like I liked. Again, I don't know if I'd put them in the redeeming. Like I feel like the tunnels were cool, but because they were so long, they weren't cool at the end of the day.
Yeah, and they also only had what, like 2 scare actors in them.
Yeah, it's like, and the whole house is just like, hey, you guys like Demodogs, right? It's like, yes, bro, we all like Demodogs. We know. We don't have to see fucking 80 of them.
Well, also the issue was the first one, I feel like it was like, hey, y'all like Demogorgons? And it was like, well, we do. And they're terrifying because they're like over 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
These are puppets, not as scary. I don't think you're understanding.
They could be used well.
Yeah, they could be.
Kind of never were. I think there was one in the tunnel that was like placed pretty well.
Yes.
But that was like it.
Yeah, and then not having 11 and Hopper be actors was really just...
It's static. I've never used the word static more than referring to this house. Static props.
11 was static everywhere except the beginning, the scene in the cabin, and I mean maybe one more spot that I can't think of right now. Where in 28, like you had four women shave their heads to play 11.
Yep.
Times 2. So you had like
All-
8 to 10 women.
All spot on, too.
Yeah. So it's like, and then also, I know we're supposed to be talking about redeeming, but let's talk about this was your headliner house. You also had actors in 28 that looked so much like these characters, and then in 29, nothing like. I could have played one of them in 29.
Yeah. I feel like there was maybe like 2 or 3 good matches out of a cast of a lot.
Yeah, and you proved you could do it. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Redeeming quality. That's why I didn't put Stranger Things. I couldn't think of a redeeming one for 29.
Here I have a redeeming one. Maybe they didn't look like them, but at least they didn't put white people in blackface mask like they did Us in Hollywood. There you go. God. That's your redeeming quality. You didn't go down to Hollywood levels of being absolutely shitty.
And then on top of it, you're doing something wrong, like morally wrong by doing that. Mm-hmm. And on top of it, their hands are white, so it's blatantly obvious.
I mean, so I was gonna say it's bad but like if they painted them, it would be even worse.
Oh, I would have had a fit. You shouldn't have done it to begin with.
No,
there's like 3 wrongs don't make a right over here. But like,
I think I talk a lot of shit about Hollywood and we make a lot of jokes, but I think that's like out of all the things they've done, that is just
the worst. In 2019.
Oh man. I think
it wasn't like, and I don't want to say it's forgivable back in the early 2000s, but it's not like the early 2000s where we weren't having these conversations.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is in the peak of, this should. It's a part of the discussion, daily discussion in life.
Absolutely, countless movements. Like there, no.
Like it's something. I was talking about someone with this recently. I don't remember who, but this is like fireable offense for a lot of people. Not just like a lot of people should have lost jobs over this, and I doubt they did. So,
no, probably not.
And also, you were like working directly with Jordan Peele, and I'm sure he didn't know this part. Like, he's not working in that deep to where that's happening.
But if he found out,
and he may not have he probably didn't notice. Your average person, it doesn't walk through a house and catch those kind of details in one walkthrough.
No.
Imagine if Jordan Peele saw that.
Oh my God, I feel like. At that point, I know nothing about the contracts these IPs have. I never will. I'm nowhere near involved. I don't feel like I shouldn't even have to say that, but I feel like that right there should be an offense that could be considered for immediately removing your IP from the event in the middle of a run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially for someone like Jordan Peele who does, racially charged horror movies. Like, get out.
Yeah, Us, the film that it was about.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, this turned into a whole other conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. That's what we do. It's what we do.
No, I love that. This is why I love this show.
Yeah, we have an outline. We just don't stick to it, ever.
What's an outline?
It's called Episode 78 Outline. I shared it with your email.
I have it. It's on my phone.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. But yeah, no. So I'll add that as a redeeming quality. It didn't stoop to Hollywood levels of not being accurate to the characters. Boom.
At least we have that. And she wasn't in the house one night. She was just there, the sister. I was just saying, it was
just like a walkthrough.
She was just walking through. She got so scared. I remember that video.
And that was actually Orlando. Usually the celebrities do Hollywood. This was actually Orlando's version that she did. So
yeah. Maybe one day we'll get a soundtrack by Slash.
To be honest, yes. Please.
I kind of want one. No,
Holy, Brides was.
I was gonna say the Brad Frankston one. It's so good. He is really good at creating soundtracks for these haunts, guys. Mm-hmm. I want him over. I want someone to make a soundtrack for. I feel like that's a really cool idea. We were gonna get Billie Eilish, but
yeah, we know how that went.
Whatever. I don't want to talk about it. I'm just gonna get upset.
So are you saying you'd like Slash to do the score for Billie Eilish's house?
Sure. I mean, if I could get a Billie Eilish house, sure. I'll take it.
It'd somehow work. I believe it would work somehow.
It would appease the cargos.
Do we really want to do that?
No, I don't, but I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
Should I say my last one now? I don't have many redeeming qualities about this, I won't lie.
Go for it.
Zombieland from 29. Oh my God. Worst zone I could think of. Worst zone. I only have one redeeming quality.
Can I guess it? Can I try to guess it?
Go for it.
Bill Murray.
I mean, like, kind of. I said some of the actors really went above and beyond to make that zone. Specifically, the jogging zombie was my bread and
Yeah,
butter.
yeah.
Really loved him.
It,
But
I,
Bill Murray.
so I didn't announce this, and I didn't even tell you before. One thing I tried not to do was talk about performance of scare actors.
That's fair.
One, that can vary. Two, I also don't want to include that because I'm calling these houses bad, and that's not due to the scare actors by any means. So
Oh, that's fair.
I feel like keeping them out is kind of the safer route. But yes, I believe Zombieland actually really had strong performances, just unfortunately in a not very good zone.
Yeah.
And,
No, I get
Jogger
that.
Zombie, I mean, you listened to our show, we talked about him for about like a year straight about that performance. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. No, that was my favorite part. I wish the show on the stage would have had a little bit more variety, and the dancers probably would have been a redeeming.
You mean like not just pre-recorded audio, different
Shoot to
characters,
thrill.
same exact lines?
Shoot to thrill, man. What can I say? That's all I heard forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, it was rough, and it's like shoot the thrill. That's great. We heard it in Vamp 85. Why do we have to hear it every night in the same street the next year?
Literally. That I think that's also what it was, is maybe I was just fatigued from 85. And I didn't hate 85. I was gonna include that, but I didn't consider that a bad zone overall. I know some people did. I enjoyed it. But Zombieland was significantly worse.
Oh, let me think real quick. Yeah. Okay. So I think Zombieland I would say the past decade, or since like 2010, I guess, is the worst New York zone. And it's
absolutely.
not. Yeah, no, it is. I don't even think it's debatable for me. And that's unfortunate because I think, again, like you said, I think there's a lot of notable characters in the performances they put in. So unfortunately, that's going to kind of not go to waste. I mean, obviously, I think some of them got recognized by their peers that years and by their leaders that years and, won awards. So kudos, but looking back at it, like that zone's not looked on fondly. And that's unfortunate for the scare actors who went above and beyond there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, I don't know if I have anything nice to say about that with my rule of not trying to talk about scare actors. So if I was looking more at zones like you did, Zombieland would absolutely be there. Because it was just a massive photo op, and its one show was the same show over and over, all pre-recorded, same lines for different characters.
Yep.
Why?
For no reason.
How hard would it have been to write a simple, like, different, like, 1-minute script?
I don't know. Yeah, or even just Mike, like Tallahassee or whatever we were calling them at that point. Mm-hmm. You could have just had them be on mic, and then they could have said their own lines and kept the audio without their lines and the growling.
Yep, could have been really easy.
They had to learn the same cues for the choreo, for the fight, so as an actor, I don't see really where the difference was, I guess, is what it is. So, I don't know.
All right, so, here, I'm going to add one for you. Just because you did a zone, I'm going to match a zone.
Okay.
And this might not be, like, the actual worst one, but one that kind of, like, really let me down, and people seem to really enjoy it, and I don't, and that's HHN 28 going for Chucky. It was Chucky's Revenge, I believe it was called. I did not like that zone.
It's okay, neither did I.
So one redeeming quality, that's the point of it, is I like the Easy Bake Oven a lot. I thought that was a really nice gag. And the scents were well used. So there you go. Redeeming quality. Otherwise, did not like it at all. Sorry.
It's okay. I feel the exact same way. Like, I won't even lie to you.
Yeah, I think we make jokes about this a lot, about how, and it's not the character's fault at all. Obviously, it's limitations, and as they should in a show like that, of course, because we've seen the videos from the early 2000s, Chucky's Insult Emporium in Hollywood, and how racist and sexist and any terrible thing you could think of, they said. So you have to have limitations. I get it, but it brought it to a point where it was just not funny and bland and just asking the same things and saying the same things over and over. So unfortunate, but I think some of the props were great, especially the Easy Bake Oven.
I like what was it? The oh my god, Operation. I was going to say surgery.
Yeah, Operation was pretty cool.
That was fun. I like spray the cup with water. They didn't see it coming. The barrel monkey. It was fun. If we're not gonna call out actors as redeeming qualities, then I don't really have much to say besides the sets were kind of cool.
Yeah, same.
That's it.
All right, well, I matched you. There we go. We each had 5. 4 houses, 1 zone. We said nice things about things we don't necessarily like.
Look at us. I'm proud of us.
I think for the most part, actually, I don't think we disagreed at any point. Like we never said a house the other liked. So, hey.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Beetlejuice.
You said, come on, it was not even.
I said it wasn't top 5. I didn't say I didn't like it.
Okay. Did you more than like it?
For personal reasons, sure.
Okay, whatever. Fair. All right. Well, so that is where we're going to wrap up the show. I'm sure we're going to get deeper into that Beetlejuice hatred of mine and that kind of sort of like for you. I don't really know where you stand. Like you don't think the house is great, but you also like it because it's Beetlejuice.
Well, I had special moments in it that I feel like made my experience a little different.
Okay.
That's just because look at my arm.
Yeah. I mean, I walked behind you a few times in it. I saw.
Yeah. You weren't there on Beetlejuice Day, though. That was, I know you talked about, it was a different kind of experience because it was, hype and everything, but it was a different kind of experience.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I was trying to keep that out because that made the house a lot more enjoyable. It wasn't for the house. It was for everything surrounding it. So, yeah.
Yeah. The sets were cool. The model was good.
I mean, the attic...
We'll get to this.
The attic looked good.
I feel like we need a debate episode or something now.
I mean... That's basically every episode.
So, okay.
I'm surprised because, listen, we talk about HHN outside of this podcast, and we usually end up debating. So I'm surprised this didn't devolve more into that this time.
We were very civil. I'm proud of us.
I think for the most part, it's because we agreed. So
yeah,
the only one was Beetlejuice, but Beetlejuice is one of those things that you just kind of understand. That's my thing.
Yeah,
I like it, and kind of objectively not great though.
Yeah. I understand why people feel the way they feel about it, and I understand why I feel the way I feel about it.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of debates to come, probably by next episode.
There's going to be blood eventually, just wait.
Luckily, we record virtually, so that's not an issue.
Okay, I know where you live. I already killed Niko, just wait.
Well, there was no blood in that death either, so that's fine.
There wasn't. No, we couldn't get taken down.
Yeah, we went a little cheap there. Sorry, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, though. That was fun to make.
Oh, I had so much fun.
It was great. And also, they did it in 2 takes. That's it.
We did, didn't we?
They were great.
Look at us. I'm so proud of us.
Too bad Niko's gone. I miss you, Niko.
Yeah, it's okay. Someone has to stand up for the clowns and anything else Niko didn't like. I can't think of anything now.
Literally, the other 2 people on the podcast did.
I know, but now it's me. Now there's no one.
I think you like clowns as a house more than I did, so you can stand up for it even more.
Do I? Maybe. I think you might be thinking of my sister.
No, I said you like it more than me, not that you like it a lot.
Did you hate it?
It was 9 for me.
Oh yeah, I did like it more than you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't hate it. I thought it was fine. Anyways, we're just gonna end the episode. So since this is your first episode, plug yourself a bit and on a personal level.
Sure. So if you want to follow me, my Twitter is @BeetleJess. So like Beetlejuice, but BeetleJess. That's where I'm the most active. I also have an Instagram that's @BeetleJess85. If you want to keep up with me, talk about HHN. I don't know, any questions. I also talk about wrestling a lot. I have a wrestling podcast with my husband and one of our best friends. Women Can Wrestle, WCW, the podcast. If you're interested in wrestling. And then I also have a fun podcast with my best friend, Squad on the Rocks, which we were on the last episode of 365. So
literally the last episode.
Literally. If you want to check us out, we're at @squad_rocks. We literally try new alcohol and have a randomizer wheel pick a topic, and that's what we do every other week. So if you're interested in that.
Promised a guest spot. So
you are
look
coming
out for
on.
Me.
Yeah, look out for Duff. Duff's gonna come on. You have to provide the alcohol though. Or not provide, but tell us.
I suggested that. So
you did.
Yes,
we are taking you up on that. You're gonna have to pick it out. We're gonna do it.
I got that.
We were thinking of doing a Mardi Gras alcohol ranking.
Oh.
So we might need you for that. We'll see.
Okay, let me know. I'll go to Mardi Gras and start drinking some more.
Ooh, oh my god. Well, I want to go to Mardi Gras with Mary anyway, so let's just go to Mardi Gras.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Be busy. No, I'm out of time. Anyways, Yeah, that's Jess. Welcome to the show. Yay!
I'm so excited to be here.
Applause,
Thank you
applause.
for asking me. Like, I'm so happy. Like, you don't even know.
So after this week, no fanfare. You're just part of the show. Sorry.
Yeah, that's it. No, please don't treat me any different ever.
That's it. All right. So if you do want to follow HHN365, that's on Twitter, Instagram, or even on YouTube, which we will eventually start kicking. But it has that one vlog of opening night. So go check that out. That's at HHN365. Of course, leave us a voicemail at 407-906-3405. Especially if, what was it? If you like Penn and Teller, hop on and defend it. That's what we said you should. Yes, do that. Otherwise, see you in the streets.